Hi. So it's been a while since I made a video, but anyway, I've got a new obsession, and that is sourdough bread. And it sounds kind of intimidating, and it was to me too until I figured out how to make it. So I'm going to show you how to make sourdough bread, which actually is not hard, but it does take some time. So anyway, these are the materials that you need right now. I have a sourdough starter. We'll talk about that in a minute. Water, a bowl, a kitchen scale, and bread flour. That's literally it. The kitchen scale is pretty important, okay? So you have to, when you're baking, especially bread, you have to be exact with your measurements, okay? So if you don't have one of these, you definitely need to invest in them. Amazon, like less than $10, okay? So, so let's talk about the sourdough starter. Now, I did not make this myself. I did not make the starter. So a friend of mine from church gave me this, okay? They gave me a starter. Now, there are lots of recipes. You can Google it. And literally, it's just you put flour and water in a container, sit it on your counter, and just kind of feed it every day for about a week, and it ferments. And that's what gives you like that sour taste and the bubbles in the middle of sourdough bread. Okay, if you are just starting out, I bet a friend of yours has some sourdough starter because it seems to be very popular right now. But if they don't, again, it will take about a week to get sourdough starter. Okay, so it has that fermentation stuff. All right, so first thing we have to do, so this is going to take several parts, okay, because it's not hard, but it does take a lot of time. There's a lot of resting. Anyway, so my sourdough starter, okay, it lives in the fridge. Like literally, I don't do anything with this until I'm ready to make sourdough bread. And I take it out and you feed it. So this lives in the fridge, but I took it out about a couple hours ago to bring it up to room temperature, okay? So, and I'll tell you why I have the rubber band on here in a minute. All right, so the first thing you have to do is you have to discard some of it. So this is actually my sourdough discard. Now, there's also lots of recipes online about using sourdough discard. So you take away some of it. Now, the recipe that I have says to leave about 1/4 of a cup in here. I haven't really been measuring it. I just take some out and then I feed it, okay? So I'm going to take out a little bit, kind of stir it around, and you'll see there's lots of bubbles in there, okay? It's really cool. So I'm going to take this out and try not to be messy with it. So there's lots of recipes that call for sourdough starters, sourdough discard. So you don't actually, you don't have to throw that away. I actually haven't been saving it for long, so I might try one of those recipes next. All right, so I've got about that much. Again, all right, so to feed your starter, you got to start with your kitchen scale, turn it on. Now, this is all in grams. I have my bowl. Now, I'm going to zero that out. So, we need 100 grams of flour. Now, this is bread flour, okay? So, again, you can find that at any store. Oop, and I'm making a mess. All right, so 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water. So, there we go. Perfect. All right, so there's 100 grams of flour. And then we need 100 grams of water. So, about another 100 grams of water. All right, there we go. So 100 grams of water. Stir that together. It's going to be very lumpy, okay? So stir that together until it comes together, and we pour it into our sourdough starter. All right, so it's lumpy, it comes together, and then you put it in there. So literally all the starter is, like I said, is flour and water. So pour that in there, and I give it a little zhuzh. And that is feeding our starter. All right, so you just barely lay the top on there. Now, this comes our first wait time. We gotta wait like 6 to 8 hours just on the kitchen counter to let this activate, okay? So I put this little rubber band here, and I'm gonna move it up just a little bit to show you how much it rises in the like 8 hours. All right, so it's been about 8 hours. So the starter, if you notice, like where it was at the rubber band, it's about doubled in size. So we're ready to go. And now it's time to really get going, put our bread together. So, and I will post this link to the recipe I'm using. So take whatever bowl you're using. You do need a big one for this. And zero it out. I've already got some flour out here that I was pre-measuring. So we need 520 grams of this. So 520 grams of flour, which is about 4 cups. Put a little more in there. And again, it is really important to be pretty precise with this. Oop, there we go. All right, there we go. Let me see. All right, I'll be good with that. All right, so 520 grams of flour, and then you need salt. So about 2 teaspoons, which is 12 grams, which is a lot more than you think it is. So I am gonna go ahead and clear that out again and measure in my salt. So that's 1 teaspoon. So that's about 6 or so. And then I just go slowly and maybe a little. Then we need 1 7/8 cup of water. All right, so this, we're gonna set that aside, okay? I'm gonna give that a little zhuzh. It's literally only 3 ingredients: flour, salt, and water, okay? All right, I have me another bowl here that I'm gonna put my water in. So I need 385 grams of water, and I'm hoping this is enough. Oh, zero it out. So 300. Oop. All right, there we go. All right, and then we need our starter. Okay, so we need 90 grams of starter. So again, I'm gonna zero that out. I give this a little, it's really cool. Like it's all bubbly. This is what makes it all like all the bubbles in the middle of sourdough bread. And it gives it that, oh, and if you could smell it, it smells like sourdough bread, so.
It does.
Yeah, so 90 grams of this. So I'm always pretty careful about this. It's very stringy, so it kind of gets all over the place. And because it's hard to get this out. So that goes in there with your water. And then, again, it's hard to get all that out. All right, there we go. Ooh, look at that. And if I can get one more thing to drop. There we go. All right. And we're good. So 90 grams. Let me scoop that out. All right. And give it a little zhuzh. All right. So after that, we now incorporate this into our flour. Now you are going to need a kitchen towel to cover it up because we're going to have to do lots of resting. So this rests a lot. This dough rests a whole bunch. So kind of stir the starter into the water until it's cloudy. Until you can, like, you know, obviously until it's cloudy. All right, and pour that in. And again, if you want to read over this recipe, it says that it will be hard at first to stir, and it is. So you really just get it as incorporated as you possibly can. And then when it sits, it becomes like dough-like. So see, if you'll notice, this is, you know, you don't think that that's enough water, but it really is. So you do this for a little bit. And you gotta do this for like a minute or two. So it's been about a couple of minutes here, and there we go. Now we're gonna let this rest for 15 minutes. So put you on a timer. I'm gonna cover it with a damp kitchen cloth. And then in 15 minutes, it's gonna do some folding. So we'll see you back in 15. So it's been 15 minutes. So, all right. So we've got our dough here, and you will notice it is elastic and it looks like dough, okay? So I'm literally gonna fold it on top, turn it, and I've got some water here so it doesn't stick to me. And then I'm gonna stretch and fold, and then I turn it. And then you stretch and fold, and kind of get all this like extra stuff kind of incorporated in it, and turn. And then kind of stretch. Okay, so just do it a few more times until it gets to where it won't really stretch. So see, there it goes. And we'll do it one more time. Stretch and fold. All right, it's got to rest for another 15 minutes, and we'll come back. All right, so it's been another 15 minutes. So here we go. So just zhuzhing it together. All right, get a little water, and you literally do the Stretch and fold, turn. And see how elastic it is? Doesn't that look cool? I always think it looks really cool once it gets all settled. So you just do this for a few seconds, you know, do it 2 or 3 times until it just doesn't really become elastic anymore. Which it's not. Ew. Anyway, I just think that's really funny. It's fun. I think it's fun to make, but anyway. All right, now this is the last time we're gonna do that. Now the recipe that I was given, it says you can do it more if you want to get the gluten, and, you know, to be more or whatever. So that's up to you, but I'm going to quit at this one. And that's actually, so that's not being elastic anymore. So I think that's ready. I give it one more little, yeah. All right, and then we're gonna put it to bed. So I'm gonna cover it in my kitchen cloth. And I'm literally gonna let it sit here on my table. So it's like almost 8 o'clock at night. And thinking about 6 o'clock in the morning, we'll come and check on it. And it will have risen about a 1.5 times its normal volume. All right, we'll see you in the morning. All right, good morning. And look how pretty. So this is our dough that has risen. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's risen. It's been resting for like 10 plus hours. So we're gonna do one more round of stretching. I'm gonna lift it up, I'm gonna do that. And then we're gonna put it in this bowl that I have lined with parchment paper. So, here we go. I'm gonna pull it from, oh, look how that looks perfect. So it's all bubbly, that's the sourdough in there. So it's been proofing about 10 hours. Now with the proof, if your house is warmer or cooler, it could take more or longer or less. Ah, perfect. Stretch. And then turn it around. So, so if it's warmer, like so during the day, and so we're in the south here, so during the day it gets much warmer. So I've actually done it where I've only proofed it about 6 hours during the day. And down. And then of course, I haven't done this in the winter yet, but if in the winter when it's cooler, obviously you would need a little bit longer. I probably wouldn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do it. So, all right, I'm gonna do one more. And, ooh, oh, and oh, hold on, little dough. All right, plop it into the new container. So we're almost there. This is to help, it makes that shape, you know, the sourdough, you know, bread loaf shape. All right, so we take a little bit of flour and you sprinkle that on top. Now, in the recipe, it says you can add a lot of stuff to this. You can add seeds, you can add some spices, you can add things, you know, just get it around the sides a little bit. So there's a lot of different variations that you can do, obviously. This is pretty much the basic variety. So kind of get the flour around. And you know how sourdough has that flour on top. Well, that's where you gotta put it. All right, so, okay, this has to rest one more time. So, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna put it in this bowl, uncovered, into the fridge for 1 hour. I'm gonna put my big Dutch oven in the oven as it preheats. So I'm gonna turn my oven on to 500 degrees, which sounds like a lot, but that's what you need to get that nice crust, okay? So I'm gonna put this in the oven. I'm gonna put this in the fridge for 1 hour. All right, so an hour later, it's firmer, okay? And it's definitely colder. All right, now you have to score it. So I've got just a little paring knife and I'm gonna cut into it. Now you can make whatever design you want to on it. I just do a little crisscross pattern like that. That lets the steam escape and it gives you that nice pretty top, okay? So score it down there, score it down there. All right, now the next part is you have to do very, very carefully. So remember our Dutch oven is in the oven and has been in there for a while. So So it's extremely hot. Now, if you do not have a Dutch oven, you can do this in a just a big saucepan or pasta pan. But I would recommend not using the 500 degrees. You can do it at 450 for a long period of time. So, see that is hot. So be very, very careful with this. So again, this is very, very hot. So we're gonna take our parchment paper and our honey, stick it in there. And it starts to sizzle right away. All right, put that back on. It's okay if your parchment paper sticks out a little bit. Now we're gonna put that on for about 20 minutes, covered. So let me go ahead and do that. Oh, again, very, very heavy, very hot. Ooh, hot. Pot holders are hot too. All right, so about 20 minutes. Then we're gonna lower the temperature to 450 and do it another 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're almost there. All right, so it's been 25 minutes. So actually I did do it 25 minutes on 500. Woo. Again, very, 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 very hot. Take it out. Oh, it is starting to smell amazing in here. All right, I'm gonna turn, oop, nope, not that, go away. I'm gonna turn this down to 450. Start. All right, I'll show you what it looks like right now. Ooh, how pretty does that look? Okay, so it's already looking very golden brown and nice and pretty. So I turned it down to 450 and I'm gonna put it back in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. And you'll be able to hear the crunch. It's so good. Anyway, I wish you had smell of it because it smells amazing in here. So we are almost ready to taste that. I'm looking forward to a nice buttery piece for breakfast. All right, about 10 minutes and here we go. All right. Okay, so the moment's finally here. This is going to be, oh, it looks so good. And again, it smells amazing in here. All right, again, be extremely careful. Look how good that looks. All right, so take it out, golden brown. Give it a little, oh, it looks so good. So excited. Okay, now, even though you want to eat it right now, you gotta let it cool. So we'll come back in another like 45 minutes to an hour and slather it up with some butter. All right, so we are finally ready to eat our bread. So anyway, first I just want to show you how gorgeous this looks. I mean, you can hear that, okay? And then look at the bottom with all the little edges. Oh my gosh, and it smells amazing. So, so, so good. So, all right, so let's cut into it. Now this is not the best knife, but you do need a serrated knife for cutting bread. But anyway, this is about the best I got. Oh, y'all hear that? Crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh. Look at that. Oh, it smells so good. See if I can get this to come apart. There we go. Oh, look how pretty. All right, so now we get to finally eat it. So, serving suggestions. Some honey, butter, of course, some salt, pepper, you know, avocado, jams, jellies, whatever you want on it, okay? Sometimes you can put it in the toaster. But what I am going to do, which is lather it with some butter, put a little sea salt on top of it. Oh my gosh, it is so good. So, yum, yum, yum. Make me a cup of coffee and that will be amazing. Take a little bit of, now also just a little drizzle of honey. It's really good too. But I love the sea salt. Just crack a little bit on it. Bam. Put a little pepper on it if you want. Oh my gosh. It's got that crunch, but it's chewy in the middle. It's amazing. It's so worth the time that it took. Oh, this is yummy. Now, remember, this really only has 3 ingredients in it. Flour, water, and salt. So, like, there's no preservatives like you bread of the you buy at a store. So it's actually not, it's not going to last long. And, you know, I promise you, you'll eat it probably in a couple of days. It probably will last maybe a week. It does get a little, once you go past a few days. So I would go ahead and cut it up, take it, make a you know, take it for lunch with sandwiches. Just wrap it in. You can either wrap it in some plastic wrap, put it in a, you know, gallon-sized baggie, and just store it on your counter. But again, you know, a few days, there are no preservatives. And I mean, hey, you know, I don't think it's gonna last that long. It never does in my house. So anyway, there you go. I hope y'all enjoy. Subscribe to our channel.